Hi everyone, my name is Maddie, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking about all of the most intimidating books on my TBR. So I get intimidated by books for a whole variety of reasons. It can be how big they are, how anticipated they are for me to read, how intense the story might be. So many different reasons, but there are definitely quite a large collection of books that I've been putting off reading because I'm so intimidated by them. So I thought today I would run through what some of those are and explain some of the reasoning behind it, and maybe you guys can convince me that I shouldn't be quite so scared of these books and should get on with reading them as soon as possible. So I feel like the best place to start for this, and it's kind of the point of this video, it's at least the thing that motivated me to make it, is by far the thing I am most intimidated by, literally anything by Brandon Sanderson. I can't explain why. I have read two of his books. I have read Elantris and I have read The Final Empire. And I didn't find either of them that hard. I find Elantris quite slow but really fun. I didn't love The Final Empire as much. Again, it took me a long time to get through. But I read them both without that much trouble, and maybe took me like a week for each instead of like a day or two, like a lot of books. But I got through them just fine. So if someone could explain to me why I am terrified to pick up The Well of Ascension, and I mean terrified. I was meant to read this like 3 months ago now and I still haven't read it because I'm so scared of it. And these aren't even his biggest books. This is meant to be like an accessible starting point to Brandon Sanderson. The rest of the Cosmere, especially the, I don't even know what it's called, the Stormlight Archives, are even bigger, and I'm so scared of them, but everyone loves them, and I feel like I will as well, so I am determined to read them. Someone convince me not to be scared of them, please, because I really want to read them, and I am scared. So I think that's definitely the starting point. Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere are by far the books I am the most intimidated by. And just really quickly, as I said, I've read Elantris. I really enjoyed Elantris. It was fascinating. It was interesting. The characters were really great. And I think there are possibly going to be more Elantris books later, which is really exciting. And I feel like if there were more of these right now, I would be more inclined to pick that up straight away. But the Mistborn series, I am definitely struggling with more. I didn't dislike The Final Empire, but I definitely didn't love it. And so I'm nervous to continue, especially as this book seriously wrapped up. This could just be a standalone. I cannot work out why there needs to be another 1,200 pages or something of this series. Actually, scratch that, more like 1,500 more pages. I'm sure there's good reason and everyone loves them, but right now I cannot see the reason, and so they're just big chunky books that sit on my shelves and stare at me and make me feel guilty. I will say though, I am kind of considering making 2021 the year of having Brandon Sanderson as a project, so not reading all, but definitely finishing the Mistborn series and maybe catching up on Stormlight Archives at least a little bit, at least starting one of them. But at the same time, I'm going to be having a very busy year next year, so I have no guarantees that I'll have time to read them, but yeah, that is the best place to start because it's definitely the series I'm most scared of. And I will say that obviously the size of the books does make them more intimidating, but that's definitely not the main reason. I mean, it's definitely part of the reason, I'm not going to deny that, but I kind of regularly read books that are 500-600 pages, so going up to 700 or so isn't that much of a stretch, but for whatever reason, I'm terrified. So if someone can explain to me why and maybe help me not be so scared, that would be greatly appreciated. Next is a book I am terrified of, simply because of its size. XX by Ryan Hughes. I'm really excited for this. It is mixed media, which I think will make it a bit easier, but also often requires a lot of brain power. I remember when I read ILLUMICRATE by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, everyone said, oh, it's so quick because it's mixed media. It took me 300 pages to even be able to follow it without really concentrating. So reading a 1,000-page book like this may be really, really tough, but I will admit I'm mainly scared of this because it's huge. This is almost exactly 1,000 pages, which is a lot, and it is adult sci-fi, which is not something I read a lot of. I read quite a lot of fantasy and a decent amount of adult fantasy, but sci-fi I rarely read at all, let alone adult sci-fi, so that's intimidating. It's a whole new genre. But I think the plot of this is someone discovers some sort of signal from an extraterrestrial source, and they're kind of working out how to deal with it. Do they tell the government? Do they go to the press? What's the best option? That's all I know from right at the beginning of this book. I have no idea, but I'm scared of it. But I'm gonna read it soon, so hopefully that will help. I guess as I'm kind of talking about fantasy and sci-fi books, we may as well carry on with more fantasy. And so another book I'm horribly intimidated by is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. I read The City of Brass earlier this year and really enjoyed it, but did find it a really taxing read. I found it really intense. It required a lot of brain power. I couldn't read like more than 50 pages in a sitting because I was just getting so exhausted from it. And when I finished it, I was really ready to pick this book up straight away. But then I got busy, and the longer it's been since I read City of Brass, the more scared I'm getting of Kingdom of Copper. Something that's not helping is the end of City of Brass. I don't think I completely followed, and I definitely don't remember, so I know I'm gonna have to go back and reread at least part of that book to carry on as well, which doesn't help, because this book is, what, 630 pages in itself? Which is quite a lot, and I'm also nervous because although I liked City of Brass, the one thing I found a bit much just for me was all the politics. Just like the court politics was just a little bit too much for me. I found it dragged. And everyone says the reason they love the second book is because of all the politics. So maybe I will change my tune, but it worries me a little bit that the reason I didn't like the first one is the reason everyone loves the second one. That doesn't make it optimistic for me loving this book, and I want to love this series so much. I think it has so much potential and so many people love it. I'm just trying to work out if it's for me. But I'm definitely going to read this. Again, I would love to say I'll do this in 2021, but I am not making any promises for 2021 because I can't even make a promise to like what I'm going to read in the next week. So there's no guarantees I know what I'm reading a year from now. But for anyone who doesn't know, The City of Brass follows this woman who's sort of down on her luck and making her way in the world by faking doing these rituals. And then one kind of works and she accidentally summons a djinn and he lets her know that maybe she's not who she thinks she is and takes her to this place called the City of Brass. And it's really interesting, and I loved the fantasy world and I loved all the sort of historical setting and all the politics in it. But I did just find it really tough to get through, and so the sequel is terrifying to me. But I am determined to get to this. I don't want to put it off for too long because I do feel like if I do, I'll never end up reading it, or I'll have to reread the first one, which will put me off even more. Things like that. So again, if anyone wants to make me read this, or at least like let me know if you think I'll like it from what I've said about the first one, because I love reading about people learning about their powers and learning about worlds and things like that. But when you just get into court drama and like politics, I sometimes don't love it. So let me know if you think I'll like this, because I kind of need someone to tell me I will before I'm brave enough to pick it up. Continuing on with more fantasy, another book I'm really scared of is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a book I think I am going to love. I think it has polyamory, I think it is a dystopian world, literally two things I love more than anything, but I'm really nervous about the writing style. If I'm correct, this might be written in second person. Correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like I heard that somewhere. But I've just scanned through it and it doesn't seem like it is, but for some reason I'm scared of this. I did read an N.K. Jemisin book earlier this year. I read The City We Became, and I didn't dislike it, but I did find it really, really difficult to get into. And so I think that's one of the reasons I'm nervous for this, is because obviously my first experience with N.K. Jemisin wasn't as positive as I would have liked. So now I'm scared of this, even though it sounds really good. But I will say I have heard about her Inheritance trilogy, which I feel like maybe sounds even more up my alley. So I'm kind of considering reading that one first before I get the guts to read this one. But also this has won so many awards and everyone loves it, and it sounds like a premise I would adore. So like, why am I not reading this already? And for that premise, I do not know much at all, but I think it's about this world, which is, as I said, a dystopian world where the world basically keeps destroying itself. Like, it's called the Broken Earth trilogy. And I think the world has adapted to be very used to this and used to building itself back up as often as necessary. And that just sounds like such an interesting concept. I have no idea past that what the plot might be, what the characters are. I know nothing. But everyone loves it, so I'm gonna read it. But just, I don't know why I'm so scared of it. This one isn't even that long. This is only like just over 400 pages. It's not even long. I could read this in like 2 days, but I'm scared of it. I think the thing I'm really realizing whilst filming this video is that I'm not intimidated by books for any good reason. I'm just scared of them for no reason at all. So the next books I'm intimidated by, Akakawa War. I am so scared of these books. I don't know why. I've mentioned on this channel multiple times that I read Akakawa earlier this year, wasn't the biggest fan, but that I'm still determined to read the rest of the books in the series because everyone says they get much better as the series goes on, especially Akamath, I think is meant to be everyone's favourite. So I do need to read it, but I don't even know why I'm scared of these. These are like YA new adult fantasies. They're not even intense. They are kind of long, but I'm not too bothered by a long book normally, just dropping them. So I don't know why I'm so damn scared of them, but I really, really am, and I keep not picking them up. I want to say I'm going to finish them by 2021. I'm finishing Akamath by the end of 2020, before 2021. Akakawa War, I make no promises. But I'm so scared of them. I think the reason for me to be scared of these ones and intimidated by them is because of the love that everyone has for them. I love that so many people love these books. That's great. I love like stories that really hit a lot of people, but it makes it really scary to pick up. A, because I'm worried it won't live up to it for me and that'll just be really disappointing. And B, I kind of don't want to trash Sarah J Maas. I feel like she gets trashed so much on the internet and that's not fair. A lot of people love her books. Like, she shouldn't just be trashed because people love her books. And I get it's the way of the internet. Anything that's hugely popular, another side of the internet has to attack it. That's how the world works. But it's really disappointing to see. And I don't want to not like these and it come across like I'm just trashing them because they're Sarah J Maas. I have nothing against this woman. I have no reason to. I've read one of her books and I'm just scared of them. I feel like as well, I was really interested in these like a year or two ago and I've slightly lost my interest and I'm more now reading them because of the hype than my own personal interest, which isn't really a reason I love reading books for, but my curiosity is just getting the better of me with these two. So I'm definitely going to read them at some point. I don't know when, but I will get to them. For a very, very quick premise, the best I can give you for the first book, I think the first book's like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So this woman ends up getting kind of captured by a fae and made to live with him, and then she ends up having to go through loads of trials, and I think kind of, I don't really know. I read it a while ago and I'm not sure how well I understood it, but these really intimidate me, and as I said, I think it's more than anything because I am so worried about them being massive letdowns for me, because they're not necessarily the kind of book I would love, and I didn't love the first one, so I'm just really worried that I won't love them. Might read them and 5-star them, who knows, but not overly confident and therefore too scared to pick them up at all. So the last fantasy book I'm going to be talking about is one I'm intimidated by for such a different reason, and that is Wolfsong by TJ Klune. If you've watched some of my videos, you would know that I'm actually really excited to read this book, and so you may be confused as to why I'm saying I'm intimidated by it. Basically, I've got my hopes too high. I loved 2 of TJ Klune's books. I loved The House in the Cerulean Sea and I loved The Extraordinaries. And so now I am very scared to read more of his books because, like, in my head they're going to be automatic 5 stars, and so it's just going to be so easy to be let down by them. And I know that even if this is like a 4.5 star, I'm going to be so sad that it's not a new favourite like his others were for me. So I'm really nervous to read it, and I keep putting off reading it because I remember I read like the first 2 pages and wasn't instantly in love with it, whereas I was instantly in love with the other 2. So I was like, oh no, maybe I won't love it. And I just put it back down and wussed out from keeping reading. And like, I am probably preventing myself from reading a series I will enjoy because I'm scared I may not like it. And that's so unbelievably stupid and illogical and irrational. But that seems to be how my brain is working right now. But I am gonna read this. I'm too excited to not read this series. Like, it looks so good. It's gay werewolves. Come on, I'm gonna love it. There's no way that I wouldn't, but I'm really scared that I won't. So yeah, I'm not intimidated this because of size. I'm not intimidated because of content. I am literally just scared I won't love it and therefore keep putting off reading it because I'm a little bit stupid sometimes. So the next 2 books I'm going to talk about are both kind of thrillers, and for anyone that knows me, I do not read thrillers, so definitely safe to say it's a bit out of my comfort zone anyway, but I have 2 quite different reasons for being intimidated by these 2 books. The first is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, and this one I'm scared of because everyone says it's so complicated. Like, I have heard so many people who've read this book say they couldn't follow it and it required so much brain power, and that there's like maybe even a lot of POVs or a lot of characters you're following or something, I'm not sure, but either way it's like a tough one to read. And that kind of scares me because, like, it's a murder mystery anyway, which isn't necessarily my cup of tea. I don't think I would have picked this up if I hadn't heard such amazing things, and I'm not gonna lie, if I didn't love the cover as much as I do. But I'm scared, and the one thing giving me, like, hope is that my dad, who reads quite a lot but isn't, like, a reader, he reads to kill time, basically, and enjoys it and reads a lot of really good books. He read this one, and he doesn't deal with anything other than a linear narrative. He only reads books that go from start to end. He doesn't do multiple POVs, he doesn't do time jumps, none of that. He said he followed this just fine, without much thought, so maybe it's not as bad as some people have said. Maybe he just got on well with it with luck, I don't know, but I'm terrified to read it. In terms of plot, I know practically nothing. I think it's a murder mystery kind of whodunit. I think it's about reliving a day over and over. I don't know more than that because every single time someone starts giving a synopsis, I exit out of the video because I don't want to know. I want to go in blind, so I've made sure I know nothing. But I'm kind of scared by it anyway. The other thriller I'm intimidated by is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I remember when this book was really hyped in BookTube. It must have been like 3 or 4 years ago now, because I remember I went to America and bought this there, and it was when it was really hyped. And I should have read it straight away. This is a mixed media kind of thriller, and I love mixed media, but I've heard a few people say it's kind of scary and really creeped them out, and I am a wuss. I am the biggest wuss. I'm scared of everything. I cannot watch horror films. I hate them with every fibre of my being. I do not enjoy being scared in any way, shape or form. So I am really scared of this because I want to read it and I think I would love it, but like, I don't want to be scared. Can someone tell me, genuinely, biggest wuss in the world, will I cope with this book? Please tell me if you know, if you've read it, because I want to read this so bad. But I haven't read it even though I've owned it for 4 years just because I'm worried I'm going to be scared of it. So please someone tell me if you know, because if you can reassure me that this book will be okay for me, that would be fantastic and maybe I can actually read it. I then only have one other book to talk about, and this I am scared of for a whole different reason. A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I'm scared I'm gonna cry. I'm so nervous to read this book. Everyone who reads it seems to just be broken as a human once they've read it, and I am not sure I am mentally prepared for this. But it also looks really good, but it's also long. I don't think I've ever read a contemporary story that is this long, and I know nothing about the plot. I think it follows maybe like 4 people in New York. Yeah, 4 college classmates, 4 people in New York. Maybe New York? I don't even know that. Yes, New York. And I think some of them are LGBT. I know nothing and I don't want to. I want to go into this completely blind. Again, I've put a lot of effort into avoiding knowing the plot of this. But like, it's big and everyone says they cry and I'm really nervous. I'm so nervous that this is just going to destroy my soul, and I'm really not sure I'm ready for that. We will find out when I finally get to this. This was on my list of books I'm going to read in 2021. I literally put 10 books on that list. I've read 100. This and none of the others have made it from that list to actually being read. I'm useless. I don't know why I make lists. I never follow them. So that is it. I can't lift this whole stack up because it's way too heavy, but these are the books. Nope, you're not seeing it. These are the books I'm most intimidated by. Yeah, I'm not sure why I thought I could pick up like 11 books that are all over 500 pages. That was stupid. But those are all the books I'm most intimidated by. And the grand conclusion of this video is I'm scared of books for no good nor logical reason, but I would appreciate reassurance if someone can tell me that I will enjoy them and shouldn't be scared of them, so please do that. That is it for this video. Please let me know down below books that you are really intimidated by. I would kind of love to know. But that is it, so if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. All my other social medias, book clubs, and read-alongs are linked down below in the description. But that is it for this video, so bye, and I'll see you in the next one.